Having a good credit score can save you tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars throughout your life. It could give you a better rate when getting a car loan, a better rate when getting a mortgage, and it could even get you hired for a job because nowadays some jobs are actually checking your credit score before hiring you. Before I share with you the 5 ways of how to raise your credit score above 800, I want to establish some credibility first and share with you my own personal credit score. So let's go into Credit Karma. I highly recommend Credit Karma because it's free and it's a great way to check your credit score. So as you can see, if we jump in, my TransUnion is 817 and my Equifax is 800. If you want, you could take a look down below at all of the stats. Pause the screen if you're curious how many things I have open. Probably the most important thing is 100% payment history. And I don't want you to get the wrong idea. I'm not bragging about my credit score. I just want to show you that I know a thing or two about having a high credit score and that these 5 tips will really help you out when getting a better credit score. Let's get started. First way to raise your credit score above 800 is to dispute any errors that are on your credit report. So it's important to have a baseline, see where you're at with your credit report, what your credit score is. As I mentioned before, creditkarma.com, free. You could see what your credit score is, but your credit score is much different than your credit report. To get your credit report completely free, go to annualcreditreport.com. You could get 1 free credit report every 12 months. Download that, see if there's any errors on your credit report. If there are, dispute them. You could reach out to the credit bureaus. They have to respond to you and investigate within 30 days of you reaching out to them. And then once they look into it, and if it is an error and you get it removed, you could get an easy 20, 30, 50 points back onto your credit score just by removing these errors, but you need to first check and see if there's any errors first. Before moving on to number 2, I just want to mention that having an 800 or higher credit score really isn't that important. Anything after 750 or 780, it doesn't really matter how much higher your credit score is, you're still going to get the same exact benefits as you would having a 780 or 750 or lower. You'll probably get the same car rates, the same mortgage rates, the same approval status on any credit cards, high-end credit cards that you want. So the goal is not to get to 800, but I would say get above 750. And number 2 is to make frequent payments on your credit card. So if you have any credit cards at all, ideally you want to have a 0 balance on all of your credit cards. You want to have no debt at all. Debt is just horrible in general, but really bad when it comes to credit cards, because not only are you going to pay more over time to these banks who have more than enough money, but it's going to mess up your credit score. By making frequent payments, you're ensuring that you are paying down your credit card debt and paying off your credit card bills in full every single month. An easy way to do this is just set up an auto payment. Regardless of what credit card you have, they all have a way that you could automatically pay your credit card. You just set it up in your account, press auto pay, do it as soon as possible, and do the full statement balance, not just the minimum. Because if you pay the full statement balance, then essentially you're turning your credit card into a debit card, and you're making your credit card just an extension of your bank account. And by doing this, you don't get in trouble, you won't wind up in debt, and your credit score will increase over time. And I just want to clear up one myth that a lot of people have. They say that you should have at least 1% utilization in your account and don't pay that off, don't bring it down to 0. I just want to say I don't believe in that at all. If we looked at my credit score before, I pay off every single credit card down to 0 every single month, and my credit score is still above 800. So that myth of saying that you should leave a little bit of money in your credit card account and don't pay it off in full, I think that's bogus, because you're paying interest in order to have a higher credit score, which isn't the case. I've been doing it for years, probably 10 years or so, that I've been paying all my credit cards in full down to 0, and my credit score is above 800. Number 3 is to become an authorized user. So becoming an authorized user, essentially you are piggybacking off someone who has a great credit score and someone you trust. What this means is, let's just say your uncle or parent or really good friend that you know has a great credit score and they have a credit card, and then you could say, hey, let me be an authorized user on your credit card. I don't even need access to the credit card at all. And what you're getting is you're getting all the benefits of that credit card. So if the credit card has been open for maybe 5-10 years, you're gonna have 5-10 years of credit history on your own credit report. If the credit card has a high credit limit of, let's say, $20,000, $30,000, then you are adding that credit limit to your own credit report. And so whatever utilization you have, maybe out of all of your credit cards, you have maybe a 10% credit utilization. If you add $20,000, $30,000 of credit line to your own credit report, your utilization will drop down dramatically. But one thing to be cautious of is when you become an authorized user for a person, if their credit score drops or they make any mistakes or late payments or anything like that, that is going to affect your credit score as well. So it's important whenever you become an authorized user, pick the right person, make sure it's someone you trust, make sure that they're not going to go into debt, and make sure that you trust them. And if you find a trustworthy person with a great credit score who is going to allow you to become an authorized user, you could be looking at getting sometimes 30, 50, up to 100 points on your credit score instantly just becoming an authorized user on their card. By the way, I'm David, and if you're getting any value out of this video, hit the like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you want more wise money tips to build a wealthy future, because I'm coming out with videos every single week teaching you how to make money, manage money, and invest money. And number 4 is to keep your credit cards open. So whatever credit cards you have, never, ever, ever close your credit cards. Even if it has an annual fee, I'll teach you a little trick of how to get out of that annual fee in a minute. But whatever credit cards you have, even if you had debt for months or years and you finally paid it down to zero, do not cancel that credit card. The reason why is because whenever you have a credit card open, it helps add to your credit line, your overall credit line between all of your credit cards, which then in turn helps your credit utilization. Also, your credit history attached to your credit card helps with your overall credit history, which then in turn adds to your credit score. So if you have a credit card that you feel like you're not using often and you decide to call up the credit card company and say you want to cancel the card, what's going to happen to your credit score is it'll drop dramatically because your credit history will be gone and your credit limit, your credit line will be gone as well. Therefore, it can increase your credit utilization. Remember, the higher the credit line, the higher your credit score. The longer your credit history, the higher your credit score. So if you have a credit card that has an annual fee and you feel like you're not using that card, what you could do there is, depending on what credit card you have, leave a comment down below what credit card you have with an annual fee and I could give you some tips there. But let's just say you have a credit card with an annual fee. You got, airline miles, hotel points, travel points, whatever it was, and then the annual fee is coming due and you say, hey, you know what? I don't need this credit card anymore. I don't want to pay this annual fee. I'm going to cancel it. Don't do that. There's a way that you could get out of this. You could call the credit card company and you could ask to have the annual fee waived. Just say, hey, I've been a great customer. I've paid all of my bills on time in full every single month. Can you please waive the fee? If they say no, then you could say that, all right, I want to downgrade my credit card to a no annual fee version. Almost every single annual fee credit card out there has a no annual fee version. Sometimes it's public, sometimes it's not. But if you call the operator and you say, hey, I would like to downgrade it to a no annual fee because I don't want to pay this annual fee anymore, then your credit history and your credit line stay intact, and then you don't have to pay any annual fees and you keep this card open forever. And next is to ask for a higher credit limit. Depending on what credit card you have, you could call up every 6 months and raise your credit limit. By raising your credit limit, as I mentioned before, it'll raise your credit score because your utilization will go down. In general, the higher the credit limit, the higher the credit score for most people. The way you could ask for a higher credit limit is if you call the number on the back of your phone, speak to the representative, say that you want to raise your credit limit. The amount really depends on where you're at right now, but make sure you ask that you don't want to have a hard inquiry or a hard pull on your credit report, because some banks will give you a hard pull if you get a credit limit increase. So just ask that first, especially if you're credit increase sensitive, if you have something coming up, big purchase, and you don't want any credit increase, make sure you ask first. But you could just ask to say that you want a 20% increase on your credit limit. If your credit limit or if your credit line is maybe 1,000, 5,000, you could ask to even double that. And if you're not sure how much to raise your credit limit, you could also talk to the representative what they suggest and what you would be available to have as a credit limit increase. Quick disclaimer, just because you get a higher limit increase on your credit card doesn't mean that you should be spending more money. Remember, credit cards are just an extension of our bank account. Treat them as debit cards and you won't get in trouble. So get a higher credit limit just to get a higher credit score, not to spend money that you don't have, to buy things you don't need to impress people who don't care. And if you want to learn other ways of how you could raise your credit score above 750 or just get a few boosts in your account, then I highly recommend clicking this video right over here. It goes over how to raise your credit score as well. And I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.